former black gang member Pastor Ray Johnson and former white supremacist TM Garret are erasing the hate. Every Monday, 6 p.m. at WKRA FM 92.7, The Change.
What you got today, TM? How your day been?
Oh, I've been busy. But also recovering from this past week, which was really, really crazy.
Let's see. That's better. Which was really, really crazy. We all know Tuesday was election day. We talked about it last week, Monday, a little bit. Mm-hmm. And of course, that affected a lot what I did, what I talked about with other people. I didn't put much on social media, and I will tell you in a minute why. But before we get there, let's give us a chance to promote ourselves.
Yeah.
About our backgrounds, if you haven't listened, I'm a former white supremacist. Pastor Ray is a former black gang member. So us both coming together is already kind of a crazy thing. We try to maybe you can
how much diverse can you get in that?
Right.
Yeah.
So and of course we're on social media. And
to those who wants to follow me, social media, on Facebook, just type in Ray S. Johnson. Ray S. Johnson. That's on Facebook. IG is Pastor Ray _ and the Twitter is at Pastor Ray 77, and of course Snapchat is P-Ray. You can follow me on those platforms, just in case you want to see what I do personally, because TM and I, we do a lot together, but we also have our own personal vendettas, ministries, and things that we do.
Right. And you can also find me, of course, on all social media platforms as well. If you type in TM Garret, TM like that man, and Garret, Garret, 2 R's, 1 T, you will find me on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, pretty much anywhere. I've got the same handle everywhere. Friend me there, follow me, look what we have to say, what I have to say. And of course, you can also find Erasing the Hate online. And it's the same. Social media, type in Erasing the Hate, and the radio show will pop up, say radio show. There's another campaign we're running. Streaming outlets. So if you're missing this show, or if you don't have the opportunity to listen to the whole show, we'll put it on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. It will also be on iTunes, on Amazon Music, on Google Music, on Tune FM, on Spotify, and so on. I mean, there's no way you cannot find us.
Miss us.
Right, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, so all those platforms is just to get our message out, the things that we want to do and the things that we wanted to accomplish as far as erasing the hate. We're very dedicated to that. But, like I said, even though we have two different, we also do two separate different things in some form. Of course, I'm a pastor, so I deal with a lot of things on the evangelical side, and a lot of things, and so I preach on Sundays, do Bible study, all the things that and also try to be an advocate in the community, doing certain things. TM, what you tell them what you do, like it, as far as I know, we do the Change together, but maybe some people listening, they really want to know, what you do. I know you motivational speaker and all that.
Right, so I'm a motivational speaker against hate and anti-Semitism, against racism. So I travel a lot. Not this year. It stopped abruptly on March 6th. That's when I came back. We were filming for CNN, for United Shades of America. And I came back from Pittsburgh. And the next day, everything was shut down. So that came to an abrupt stop, but I traveled a lot, and I hope it will pick up again, going to universities, speaking in the high schools. I spoke in front of 3rd graders, 8th graders, and seniors, and college students.
Most of those Jewish communities, right?
Not only, but a lot, because I'm working a lot with the Jewish community, and one of the organizations I'm working with is a Jewish human rights organization, the Simon Wiesenthal Center. Very interesting. If you don't know about it, look him up. There was a man named Simon Wiesenthal. He was a Jew from Germany who survived the Holocaust and the concentration camps. He lost like 90 family members, and later he became a Nazi hunter. So he was hunting all the Nazi war criminals and brought them to justice. And they founded that center in his honor and continued that legacy, and have a museum in Los Angeles, and they have an office in Chicago, one in New York, and one in Israel. I've actually spoken on a panel today with the chief Nazi hunter from Israel this morning, together with the Jewish fraternity. So I'm still very active, just not, I can't travel. So therefore I'm very well connected there, and I travel a lot to speak at synagogues, but also at churches. All kind of churches, white churches, black churches, mixed churches, community centers. So people ask me when I go and talk about hatred and what we can do, they're sometimes, well, you're preaching to the choir. I say, no, I'm not, because we as a community, we can do a whole lot to stop that hate. And I can tell with telling my story, my experiences, and how I was changed.
Yeah.
So that can be used by those people to change other people. So I'm not preaching to the choir. And also, everybody's biased in their own way.
Right.
You, we're still biased
in
somehow.
Some way,
We said it last time. We walk out the door and we see the white guy in the pickup truck. We thought, that's a Trump voter, right? And you probably see the black guy, probably a Democrat,
right? Yeah.
Which is, these are biases and that's stereotypical thinking, because it's not necessarily true,
right?
But this is something we'll talk about, and we want you to talk with us. You can call in at a 662-252-6692. Wherever you are in this country, you can call in 662-252-6692. We will announce it a couple times again, and maybe you can see it here on social media. We will hold it here in the camera.
Awesome.
And we will see. Call in, ask us. We don't want to get too political.
Yeah.
We're not taking sides. This is not the point. We're trying actually to do
so
the opposite.
it's not like we have a Democrat here and a Republican
sitting
here.
Because that's our personal stuff. If it was that way, we know what we are, and people who might listen think, the white guy's probably the Republican.
Right, yeah.
But it doesn't matter. But talking of politics, we almost forgot to give a man a shout out who actually just won the election for election commissioner here in District 1, Marshall County. Our colleague here, Jamar Walton.
Jamar, give him a hand, y'all. We don't have the clapping thing, but we'll give him a hand. We don't have the clapping thing. Maybe we'll get that soon.
Yeah.
But we want to congratulate Jamal on that hard run. We saw some of the things that he was doing, and we stand behind him. And we just pray God's blessing on him, and that as he say on his Facebook page, getting to work. Time to get to work. So we want to.
We've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, got a lot of work to do. So
and this is funny because people ask me, like when I'm speaking, like we always have a Q&A after I lecture, and you have all kinds of questions. One question that pops up again and again and again is, TM, do you think there's more hate in the last couple of years? And I'm asking, you mean since 2016? Yes. And I said, no. And they're like, you crazy? I said, no. I mean, that hate has been here. That was swimming under the surface all the years before. It's just coming up. And all the people are standing up against the hate. They were there before. They just didn't see the necessity. And now you could say, well, people like anti-Trump people would say, well, he lost. What is there to do? Because people who see him as racist. I personally, my opinion, I don't know what he is, because I can look in his head, but this is a different thing. I don't want to make the show about that. And I know we have conservatives listening here too. And we want you to talk with you, and we want you to call in as well and talk to us about the outcome of the elections, because the work we have to do is that there's a lot of hate, and it's once again about color. Now it's not as much white and black. Right now it's red and blue.
Right. And that's the thing that it has. It's switched from that, because I remember hearing a lot of people talk about doing the protesting is like, why are they doing that? And Black Lives Matter is this and that. And so personally, I'm thinking people talking about black people. But if you look at at the TV and you look at the news, I mean, so much of a mixture of people out there. The things that Dr. Martin Luther King wanted to see as, people, sharing their voice, not the chaos and not the looting and all the things like that. But I'm talking about the people coming together, all races, all color, all gender. People coming together and expressing their feelings through protesting and letting their voice be heard. And now, since all that happened in the beginning, so we had, like I was sharing with Jamal earlier, we've been having a crazy year, man. It's been so much happening, and then now we saw all the protesting of people standing outside of the buildings. Now, last week we saw a lot of protesting. Watch this, at the polls. Protesters at the poll, meaning people were voting. People were voting, and there were so many different. There were so many ways to protest in that matter, letting your voice be heard. And so that's pretty much what I'm getting to, allowing your voice to be heard through your votes. And people got out and vote, and we've seen record numbers in voting. We've seen so many people.
On
getting
both
there.
sides.
On both sides. So just the amount of people. That voted, period. Just the number of people, the millions,
which is technically a good thing, because this is what this country needs. If you want to change something, go and vote. And this is where it starts, mostly on the local level. And this is what I said too. Yes, we voted, and yes, we voted a president. And whether it's a change or not, this is not even the topic. We don't want to talk about that at all. This is not the point at all, and we don't want to make it a point. But whether Trump is gone or Biden comes or whatever, it doesn't change a thing how the demographics work and how the base works on both sides,
right?
And how those both sides have dehumanized each other. Because just because the elections are over, this is not gonna stop. You have haters on everywhere, and it is just hard. And we talked about the Holocaust. We said it last week. How could a country like Germany support a genocide? Like the whole population of Germany either looked away or participated or was too afraid. But a lot of them knew what was going on but didn't care, because the victim, the Jews in that case, were dehumanized. And that happened here in the US, African Americans.
Right.
Why was it so easy? Because they were dehumanized.
Right.
And now we have it in a political way. And I'm not saying racism is gone when we say it's red and blue, not black and white anymore. Right. There's still systemic racism, but this is a whole nother can of worms. Right. We would open here. We would love to talk about that in another show. But this is not gone,
Right. So what do you now? We're talking about voting, because, like you said, we're not going to get into a lot of the topics and to especially have debates about who was better, who's that. So our show is not. Our platform is not that. We're not the debaters. We're not anything like that. We're to bring the blue and the red together to love one another, to share on ideas, and be able to and still be able to vote the way they feel that they need to vote. So and this is crazy, because not only are you white and I'm black, but you're from Germany and I'm originally from America. Mm-hmm. So how was it? On you guys on voting, like how was you raised to vote, or how did you guys vote during those times over there?
Well, it was not a family thing. So because of my past, when I started being engaged in the white supremacist movement, so I came from a dysfunctional family, and my mother had not the emotional means to take care of me. She tried to get me through school, and that's pretty much it. It was more important. And therefore that education, when it comes to voting, was missing there. So there was not, basic values like love one another and stuff like that. Of course I was taught that. I mean, it's not that was completely missing. But we didn't talk about politics. Is that one party, what do they stand for? I just picked a little bit up what others were voting for.
Yeah.
And then I had my own opinion. Okay, I like them better because, or maybe also because I grew up when they were in power, and then I saw the other side. And elections in Germany are not as dirty as here. Campaigning, and when Germans look at the U.S., they always said those guys are a little bit crazy, And the last two elections were extreme. I mean, I followed that, so I was always interested in the USA. So that's why I live here, because I wanted to be here since I was a child. This is my country of choice. I love it. So I was following politics, of course, for a long, long time, and I saw that before, that elections and campaigning is extremely dirty compared to other countries. Especially, we've talked to a lot of European countries,
right?
Because that's often more about facts, what they do versus the other. While here, it's always been more a little bit about, let's dig up some dirt about the other side and tell everybody how bad they are.
Yeah.
And this is the only reason why you got to vote for me.
Pretty much dehumanizing.
Yes.
In that instance, yeah.
And this has become even more extreme the last two elections, especially in this election. Extreme. It was extreme, and I personally feel like the last 4 years was just an ongoing election campaign.
Oh yeah,
that's how I personally feel.
Yeah,
and I if you saw governing and anybody leading this country making decisions, you saw it. But other than that, it was campaigning, and that is honestly that's tiring. Once the elections were over this week, and especially now, like,
that's pretty much how
like,
we feel.
Man, that was a long 4 years. And don't get me wrong, not because of Trump, no, because of this campaigning. And again, we're not taking sides, and we don't want to talk bad about the one or the other side, because this show is erasing the hate, not stirring the hate.
Right.
No, that's it. How do we erase the hate? Okay, let's talk some shit about the other side.
Right.
No, pardon my French.
Right.
This is not how you do it. It's about compassion and unconditional love. And of course, this is extremely hard. If you have somebody, you ask a liberal, a Democrat, say, be compassionate to a Trump supporter. Why should I? They're racist, they're this, they were bashing us, they're supporting a president who does this and this and this and this. And I understand those feelings, and I don't judge them for these feelings. But it's wrong to hold back because of that. And it's the same. You talk to a conservative Republican and tell them, hey, reach out to a Biden voter. Go and talk and remember your names again, You probably knew each other for 20 years and you've forgotten your names, because all you know is, the one side is a libtard and the other one is a Trumpster, a baby killer, and a racist,
Right.
You forgot each other's names. And this is very, very dangerous, because I said it last week, that's dehumanizing. And when it really comes to violence, and you look at other countries like the Middle East, you look at Central America, and you have coups and whatever, and somebody taking this over, and we think, we're safe here because this is the typical Western culture thing, and maybe also maybe a leftover from white supremacist countries, thinking they're better than everybody else. They're cultivated than the others. They're not cultivated. They're not civilized. They do that. They fight over elections. They don't do it the right way. Only we do it. And I think this is a misconception. No, it can happen in this country too. We're not better.
Right.
Absolutely not. This is a typical wrong thinking that you're better than somebody else. And no, it can happen here. And violence can happen. And again, it's so much easier to chase the baby killer down the street and hit him over the head, or chase the racist down the street, than Jeff or Jill. When you remember that you knew these people, then you think twice if you want to hurt them. But you forget that they're human beings. They're evil. They're from the devil, the devil or whatever you've been told.
Right.
And this is really, and again, we want to encourage you. Let me just say the phone number one more time. If somebody wants to call in, 662-252-6692. I repeat, 662-252-6692. Call in here at WKRA FM 92.7 The Change.
Yeah, so it was just interesting. I never knew how other countries voted and the process of things like that. So just allowing you to say what you said, to see it from a person that wasn't raised here and on the opposite side. So those three values of voting that I feel that we all need to look to when we're voting is family, religion, and community. Like in my family, when I was in my mom and dad house, politics, we didn't talk politics, like not like extreme. We would say that's the president, wage earner, or, things like that, or has went up, and just little small things that probably were the main thing, but like the underline, the going in and do the researching and really finding out the deeper things. My household didn't do that, and I noticed a lot of black communities hadn't done that either. So our family, voting from that standpoint, I never were encouraged to be a Democrat. I never were encouraged to be a Republican.
Is that maybe a reason why a lot of black people didn't vote in the past? It's been different this election, but in the past, is that one of the reasons?
Yeah, one of the, those are the bigger reasons. We, as a black American, and especially as a black male, we never were in, it wasn't a big encouragement to vote. And then when we thought we voted, it never counted because, we never thought we fit in this country anyway. So we thought, we was living here, and we just, the best thing to do is to make a good living, take care of your family. But politics was one thing that we feel that we weren't involved in this country. So we never did do that. That's why you'll never see a lot of, if you notice, you never see a lot of black people houses that have flags on them, because we never was taught how honoring the flag and how important it is.
I get the idea, because look how that country has treated black Americans for centuries. I can only imagine that it makes it unbelievably hard to say, okay, and now all of a sudden I'm supposed to love this country. I mean, I get that. How do you feel about it now? About voting, for example, and about where your place is as a black American?
Well, I guess since I'm 43 now, you get older, a lot of things become important, because you have children. So a lot of decisions you make, you have to realize they're going to carry on to generations. And so you're careful on things that you do. And now that, I'm more educated on, black people being able to vote, and, the Selma, Alabama, and things like that. There was those events that was happening so that we could vote and get the opportunity to vote. But I don't think there was a lot of, which it should have been to the extreme, education on voting. See, we never knew the education on voting. Not that we tried to seek it out, and how important it is and how you vote. Like I said, on these three things: family, religion, and community.
But education and voting, but I think education, and when you look at the black community, education is a problem in itself.
Oh yeah,
because if you look, we're 40 minutes south of Memphis, and I've seen schools in Memphis, predominant black schools in Memphis, and how the government is taking care of those schools. It's a shame. And I have seen schools with no windows and no heat and whatever. And if I would be a kid going to the school, man, I would skip class too. I would hang out on the streets too. You know what I mean?
Right.
I fully understand that. This is a problem. We all know there's problems like redlining and so on. And of course, you have those schools also in these districts. And that's just not where the money goes, but where it should go. So I think it's about education in general.
Right. Yeah, and so now there's a new generation that's coming up, and they're educating themselves on that. Me and my daughter the other day, we was talking. Yesterday we was in the grocery store, and we was talking. And sometime she and I kind of drift off from my wife and my son, because me and her is similar in a lot of things, So we was talking about. I think I said something. She said, "I don't have time for that." And then she said, "Daddy, I'm really over-educating myself on a lot of things in politics, and just a lot of things in general. Black history education, and all those things. And she said, I'm really over educating myself so I can have something to talk about when those oppose me try to make me think different. And so that's the difference in this generation. I would have never, at her age 17, I would have never thought of anything like that. I would have never tried to open a book to see what was the difference. And so this generation is just different, and I just believe, and so what we do, we encourage, get your education on that. Find out what's this, so that you could not only be on the defense all your life, but be on the offense as well. So knowing these things will be able to prepare yourself for the future, and the decisions you're making and, where you're trying to go. So that's one of the biggest things. So I think just the educating people on how to vote, instead of voting popularity, because that's one of the biggest things that has really attacked me. Of course, like I said, I'm on the evangelical side. I'm looking at the church. I'm looking at see how the church is responding to these times, and looking at these things that happen. And me personally, I don't know what other people are teaching their congregation or teaching other people, but how do you teach a person to vote for a person? You get what I'm saying? A person, because it's just like this, and this is what I explained.
The person represents an idea only as well, right?
Exactly, but they're not perfect, and there's good on both. As this was said, it's good on both sides, right? So, and just to see the church fighting because of who they voted for. Back to the baby killer thing, especially that's in religion. I believe in there shouldn't be abortion and things like that. So and then you got people who have freedom of choice. And
I think I'm pro-choice, but I wish there would be no need for abortion, and I wish there would be no abortion, because of course I think it's a terrible thing. Of course it's a life we're talking about. It goes much, much deeper, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, and nobody I know who is pro-choice is like, hey, let's go kill some babies.
Right.
Of course not.
Yeah. And so on that side, just to see the church fighting because of a favorite person they want to vote for. And so it's just like this. You got two Christians on a basketball team, right? You and I, me and you, we're Christians, all right? You're on the opposite team. We're about to go for the championship. You praying to God that you win. I'm praying to God that I win. Who God going to answer? You get what I'm saying? So it's instead of praying that,
even if you're not Christian, I could be Jewish or Muslim, or I could be Hindu. I'm still praying to the same God, you know?
Yeah.
So who's God answering to? God is not favoring.
Exactly. So that brings it, instead of being to the point where you're praying God's will, like just like two people playing on a basketball game, praying to God that, Lord, allow me to perform in my best ability that may cause me to win the game, and allow me to perform. And then you allow your gift to make that room that you win or not. So, but to see that you're praying for a person, and I believe in this, this side is going to be great because of some, values that I have, religious wise, family wise, and community wise. And then you have the same, and then now we're both, evangelicals in the Christian community, and we're fighting though because you voting for Trump and I'm voting for Biden, or I'm voting for Biden, you voting for Trump. And so now that has put that look on the church. And now a lot of people are looking, people that are maybe de-churched or unchurched are looking at the church and laughing because they're fighting. They're back and forth. They're putting nasty stuff on Facebook. They're making memes out of each other. It's just ugly. And this is have been the root, of things. And now it just has stirred the pot. And all these things has come to surface. And 2020 has been a year of exposure on a lot of different things. So
then have like these funny sports rivalries that like here in Mississippi, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, and that was always, of course, there's a lot of pride involved, but it was always also fun to do that. But even people have forgotten that, and it's going full swing politics and full force and 100%, and It is really, it's sickening. It's heartbreaking to see that, especially if you look at social media. And social media, I think, is one of the biggest problems we have.
Yeah.
It is, and Mark Zuckerberg, by the way, said it himself. He created a monster there that is really hard to control. Of course, they could decide to shut it off. just like that.
Yeah.
But it's a company.
To
That's
make
how
money,
they
yeah.
make the money. And not only them, do you know how many people make money through Facebook?
Yeah.
How many livelihoods that would
Right.
be just to cut off Facebook? How many
Right.
people could not do any business anymore?
Yeah.
I'm
I have
honest.
business. Yeah, I use it.
90% of my connections that I make are recommended on Facebook or whatever. It is that monster has it's got its claws around us and is not letting us go.
Yeah.
And this is tricky. And the bad thing is also that we don't see any faces. If I'm writing with somebody on Facebook, you know, people put stuff on Facebook they wouldn't tell you in your face. That's number one, because
Call them keyboard gangsters.
right, yeah, because they might be afraid that you smack them, you know, if they would say it right here. That's the one thing. And also, there's a thing, it's called instant gratification. Okay, when we are arguing, then I'm not as ugly to you, because I might tell my friends, I told Ray this and this and this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good job. But if you're on Facebook, you know these people are already waiting. They're following your feed, and then they're like, what TM and Ray are doing, you know, and if we call each other out, because your peeps will join in, my peeps will join in, click like, share,
Right.
and even say, yeah, you showed Ray, you know,
Yeah.
and that was great. Yeah, tell him. And your people would do the same thing, if we would be not on the same side. But
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and this is the instant gratification that we get with those likes. And you can say what you want. Of course, it's nice to get likes. And I look at my phone when I posted something. Oh, nice! I got 20 new likes.
Yeah.
Of course, it feels good. It's gratification. It shows you something you put out there that people like it,
Mm-hmm.
and this makes it extremely dangerous. And this is why I always encourage people: if you have a discussion on Facebook, maybe take it off Facebook and meet for a coffee. That happened here in Holly Springs, by the way. It was a white conservative and a black Democrat. And he was a white male conservative and a black female Democrat. And it was the typical Black Lives Matter and blah, blah. You know, the typical thing. It was very stereotypical, the whole conversation. And he might be listening and he knows who I'm talking about. And since we've got a shop here on the square in Holly Springs, the Mac, that has different shops in there, but also a community corner where we offer free coffee. And I said, you can come in here in the shop and where you count as a human being, not as a color or as a vote. Mm-hmm. And they took actually the opportunity to take that feud. It was not a really bad feud, but it was going there. They took it off Facebook and said, hey, let's meet for coffee and sit down. And they sat down at the shop at the Mac and had a great conversation.
Awesome.
And they're friends. Of course, there's a little bit going on still.
There's still some bias,
but it changed. It's really great, and I encourage people really take it off Facebook and have these conversations offline. Of course, it's with COVID and everything, it's a little bit harder to meet. Of course, everybody, if you meet, yes, wear a mask. This stuff is not gone. Wear a mask. Meet somewhere. If you're like you two, sit down. You can take your mask off and talk. But be careful when you do that. But it's a game changer. Mm-hmm. Because all of a sudden you talk completely different because you have a face. You see emotions when you say something. And you hold back with ugly comments that you maybe would put on Facebook. Because you see, while you're saying it, I see how you look at me. And I see a human being looking at me that I may hurt with what I say. And that will tell me I might be wrong what I'm saying. And on Facebook, you don't immediately see that.
Yeah.
All you see is afterwards these likes.
Yeah. People sharing, getting involved, and you got all that. And so you got these, all these groups that forms behind that, and it just, it's really bananas right now. And so, in our part, as far as you and I, and then the platform that we have, we got work to do. Mm-hmm. And I think our work is being in between the middle of the two, trying to. It's like, just like you said, they took it off Facebook and they met for coffee. And I'm pretty sure you were there, probably watching.
I wanted to. I totally forgot that they're coming, yeah. and we have a partner at the shop, Alice, and she was like, Jim, there's somebody looking for you. I said, I forgot about that. But they sat down and but it's the plan once COVID gets better, especially. There's actually, and I'm from Germany, so in Germany they developed a vaccine right now. It's 90%. So hopefully next year, this will be better.
Right.
And if we're all really taking care of this. But then I encourage people, I hope much more people will take that opportunity and sit down there and grab a free coffee and just have that conversation. And I hope that I will witness these conversations.
Right.
Yeah, being in the middle is sometimes hard because sometimes, of course, I'm biased. Of course, I'm not exactly in the middle. Of course, I can say that I'm more left of the middle, you know.
Right.
I have a lot of conservative views, but I have a lot of liberal views too, you know. But it's my personal thing. But in my activism, I'm in the middle. I want to bring people together.
Right.
I want to people love one another. It's love your neighbor as yourself. Well, the golden rule, what all religions have the same rule, which is treat others how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
This is what all religions have in common. This is what wraps actually everything up. And this is just so important. And sometimes I get bashed from the left, from the right, and I'm like,
right.
Well, that's an unthankful job sometimes.
Right. Sometimes you can be, a little bit more biased on either side, but at least you're open to the conversation and seeing the reason behind the feeling of the person that explaining, how they feel about a certain situation. So that just is as much as, that's just more powerful than anything else. Just being able to be open to the conversation, because even though you may see it a different way, but at the end of the conversation, you can understand why I say Black Lives Matter. You can understand why I do this and why more urban communities may be Democrat versus Republican, even though they may be, believers and don't believe in an abortion side and things of that nature. And so you get to understand why, instead of saying, hey man, because I've had friends, I've lost friends I did ministry with. I've been in ministry I've been pastoring 10 years. I've lost friends that has been to my church preaching for years and preached for years. I've lost some of those friends because they've said, how can you support a baby killer, or how can you, support Democrats? And I'm like, just because I said this don't mean I'm a Democrat. I'm just trying to get you to see views and see that. And I don't even label myself as anything.
It's not, you cannot want, seriously, if you look at both sides, and this is not about Trump or Biden, it's about policies. If you look at policies versus people, then you will, I guarantee, almost none of us 100% agree with this and 100% agree with this. Because you will find the one or two topics that you can't agree with. And then it's just where you have to see, okay, what fits me most. And this is where it becomes extremely tricky if you become a one-issue voter. If you say, this side supports something I don't want, so I vote for the other side. That makes it a little bit tricky. I'm not judging people for doing that, because, look, I thought like that too in the past. So, and I know where it's coming from. So, not judging anybody. But what about the other policies? What about the other points that candidates have? What they believe in? And okay. Now the question out there to the listeners, and you still can call in, by the way, 662-252-6692. So if you want to participate in the show, maybe you need to get used to us. I don't know.
Yeah.
But seriously, a question for the listeners also to you. How many people do you know in person who had an abortion?
Oh, I know quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I know quite a bit. Yeah. Quite a bit. You need a number or something?
No.
No, I know quite a bit, and some took advantage of the opportunity.
Which is clearly wrong.
Yeah.
If I say I'm pro-choice, it should never be used as a form of birth control or whatever.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
No. And this is what many people don't understand. If you talk about Planned Parenthood, for example, and a lot of they call themselves pro-life. These pro-life people see Planned Parenthood as, they want abortion as birth control, which is not the truth. Planned Parenthood is about education for young girls not to get pregnant in the first place and get real birth control and get educated. And abortion should always be the very, 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 very last resort. And in my opinion, I have a mixed thing there, I'm pro-choice, but I mean, I'm honest, I'm pro-choice, but if my daughter would say she's aborting a baby, I don't know what to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too, man. I'm pro-life too, but sometimes I and I'm against it as well. I mean, to the extreme. I'm against it as well. But then you think about those situations like, what if your daughter gets raped and get pregnant by the rapist?
Right.
How hard would that child's life be to know that it's dead?
Right. I think it should be really for extreme situations.
And then so it's just hard to that is a hard thing, and so you can go back and forth with that, and you can debate with that,
right? But being pro-choice doesn't mean you're not pro-life,
right?
That can go hand in hand.
Exactly.
And it's a really, and I know there's people listening and they're very passionate about that, and they say, no, abortion is a no-go, period, should be illegal. The thing is, if it would be illegal, there would be still abortions. And when it was illegal, there was abortions. And they were dangerous. There were 15-year-old girls dying or whatever, or got procedures that they never could have children again, right, because they got illegal abortions.
What about the young girls that hid their pregnancy and had the baby at a party and throwing them in a garbage can? That baby's died anyway from suffering, Right. And so it's just like this. If they tell you not to drink, there's still going to be people drink. They tell you not to do drugs, there's still going to be drugs around, no matter how you make it a law or against the law. It's still going to happen.
It's a topic you should discuss. Absolutely, discuss it in your family, discuss it with your friends. Don't abandon your friends if they don't think the same as you do, because otherwise, how can you convince people that what you think is the right thing? If you abandon them because they think different. This is, again.
Yeah. And then these are the things I have with people like me who are pro-life. Like, how are you pro-life for a baby, but you okay with the death penalty? Like, what life is life, right? It's just like, it's just kind of hard, isn't it?
And also, such a divisive topic like abortion. And I remember I talked about it last week too, when I organized the Memphis Peace Conference the first time. And I had the usual suspects invited, and I realized I don't have the white conservative Trump voter invited. And when I talked to the guy, he might be listening too, by the way, he commented last time. And I told him I have two requirements. There's two topics I don't want to talk about, and this is abortion and the border wall, because it was 2018 midterms. The Mexico border wall. So because these are two dead horses we would beat, and the 2 hours would be over and we would go nowhere because we will not agree. And this is like, if we're talking, talking to make erasing the hate, making our community a better place, bringing those people together, and then start with the two dead horses that we keep beating for the rest of the day, and the real problems we could solve that are really pressuring in the community, we're missing opportunities doing that, especially like the border wall. I talked to a guy like in East Tennessee one time, and I was like, how often have you seen these MS-13 guys in East Tennessee? They won't be there in 50 years. It's we need to first change what's affecting you locally, and this is by the way, Ray has made a nice agenda because I'm talking all over the place. Otherwise, I love to talk, and I'm a storyteller. I would talk 2 hours. You probably noticed that already. And actually, it was the effects of voting. We're talking about what we can change locally. And before you argue with somebody over these one issue things, on Facebook, and then hate each other and block each other, not call each other Trumpsters and libtards and baby killers and racists, and that's it, and then you laugh about it, because this is exactly what's happening. No, talk to local people and then take it off Facebook and meet them. And effects of voting, local, state, USA, in this order, because this is local. How can you change, again, no matter who won the elections, it doesn't change the base automatically. This is we're talking about federal stuff that's happening, which is important, and it's great that everybody voted, or many people. Right. But just because it changed up there, that's not automatically coming down to us.
Exactly.
And how often have the politics in the last 4 years really affected you down here in Mississippi?
Exactly.
I mean, we have to take care of federal politics for several reasons, and the leader we feel comfortable with. But first of all, and this is why it's so great, and we talked about John Walton, running here for election commission, and now his ambitions to do more in politics, which I think great. That's local, and there's people there's people you can talk to, and people can
maybe
work
family
with,
members
and they're here.
That knew each other.
Right, exactly. And this is you can be active, and people are all the time. That guy passed a vote then and then. That passed a bill. That guy promoted a bill, and they always think it's the big guys in the Senate and in Washington who make politics. I'll break some news for you out there. If you want to change something in the community, if you think something should become a law, you can sit down and write a bill. You can introduce it. You have to lobby because you have to get it on the floor of the Senate, of course, locally as well. And you have to lobby. You have to go. You have to, of course, get to know with your state reps and everything.
Yeah.
And have to talk to them why they should support the bill that you want to bring on the floor, to the floor, that they vote on it. Right. But it's possible. I've seen it happen twice. The one time it was a teacher, Stu Wexler, on the East Coast. I really have to look up where he's from. A Facebook friend of mine, and it was about cold cases from the civil rights movement. Where civil rights workers were murdered, a lot of African Americans got murdered. These cold cases that went cold to start working on them again. And he created that bill with his students, and they went lobbying, and it became a law. Even under Trump, when people would think it would never happen. No.
Right.
And that was a school class. Or another one, I work with the Simon Wiesenthal Center. We talked about Holocaust education. We said, because it's not done enough in schools. It's like Black history. It's not done enough. It has to be included in American history because that's what it is. And also here, and there was, in that case, about the Holocaust, because there's not enough education, and Canada did it before. They have a mobile museum of tolerance, and that's a bus with videos and everything that goes from school to school, and the school classes can go there and get educated also about the civil rights movement and everything. And that cost money. That cost millions of dollars. Yes, we brought that to the floor. I helped lobbying up there. We talked to the state reps. I spoke up there. I spoke at the state capitol in Illinois.
Right.
And Springfield helped lobbying, and yes, it became a law, and they got the money, and they can do that, and you all can do that. This is how we make politics. This is how you, as a citizen or a legal resident, can make a change.
Right.
Not just change switching out the top guy. Here, help your local guy, help your local politician, and become active yourself.
Yeah, most guys, most people, they know more about the people in Washington than the people down the street that's going to, change the community, whether community centers get built or coding get changed, or to do things, and but they know so much more about people in Washington and don't know anything about the people in the local area that's going to actually change the way they do things in their community, and change what's coming into their community, what's going to be built, and if they're holding back building funds or building codes changing where they can't build certain things in certain areas and things like that, and people that's going to change the effects and how that city mobile, how it moves and how it goes around and how it does, especially for education and schools and how they get built, where they get built at, and stuff, do they add another school because of the population and things like that. So all of those things are very, very, very important, but we're constantly fighting on the big guys, and they're not making.
It's gotten so bad. Like many people had no idea who else is on the ballot. It's not only the president that was on the ballot.
Right.
There was a lot of local guys that were on the ballot as well, and many people just see, the red guy and the blue guy on the top. I'm not voting for the red guy. That's why I'm voting for the blue guy at the bottom as well. And you don't know anything about policies, what your local Democrat is supporting, or vice versa. If you're voting for Trump, what the local Republican is actually standing for.
Are they lining up together? Yeah.
Right. Is they lining up? Because, here in the U.S. you had the phenomenon, like until years ago, that Democrats in the South stood further right than Republicans in the North.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it was, you know? And just because the one guy has that color doesn't mean it lines up with what you believe in.
Yeah.
And you have these polarizing guys at the top, and this is all what you're looking at. And many people said, I heard it from many people that they said they went to the polls and were like, there are names on the ballot I've never seen.
Exactly.
Said, you know why? Because you didn't care what's going on locally. You were only going
what the media was
after getting rid of Trump or getting whatever, or keep him in power, or getting Biden, or whichever side you're on, you know?
Exactly.
I don't say that's not important, but this is how we lose track of our home. And if we talk about changing problems, it's the same. You have to start at home. Right. If you want to be a good person, you know, if you want to have a good relationship and be in the big style, you need to start at home with your family. You know, you need to continue in your neighborhood, in your town where you live, in your city, in your county, in your district,
right?
In your state, and then you can go up. But you need to start. If you fail on the small scale, then you're not gonna win the big one. You know.
Yeah, so we got about 8 minutes left. I really want to touch on this because I really want, because this is going to bring the connection together and allow people to respect one another. Mm-hmm. Now, if you had to talk to a Biden supporter, all right, versus the decision that was made or halfway made or whatever confusion is happening right now, and I noticed Biden said that he talked to the Trump supporters. He said, I know this is probably a bad day for you, blase, what he said. And then, so what would you tell those people? What would you tell the Biden supporters? What would you tell the Trump supporters? Based on the decision that was made, like the Biden supporters may be rubbing it in the Trump supporters' faces. And what about the Trump supporters who are still holding on to it's not over?
You're saying something there, and you said a lot of Biden voters are rubbing it in right now. And you saw all these T-shirts of Trump supporters, and I F your feelings. You've seen it before?
Oh, no, I hadn't seen it yet.
And honestly, a lot of Biden voters are doing the same thing. Of course, you have a lot of hurt people on the other side. Substantial or not, doesn't matter. It's like fear, like the monster under the bed. It's not real, but the fear is real. And their feelings are real. Mm-hmm. And substantial or not, that's not the topic. And then you're coming, no matter which side you're rubbing it in, and you're the same. You're complaining about not being compassionate and F your feelings. Now you're doing exactly the same. I'm sorry, you're not a little bit better. Yes, of course, your guy won. And of course, it feels great for you if your guy won. But talking about compassion and then do exactly the opposite, it's just not right.
Right. See, I love what my son, when they play football after the game is over with, they make sure they line up and they, clap the other's opponent's hand. And it's not an expression after they're doing it, just like good game. We played a good game, and it's not a rub in the face, but we won. We played a good game, but we the winners,
Oh yeah, you can still be proud that you won, you with your ideals and you with your team, but you can do it with dignity. And especially if you were wanting dignity for 4 years and then you can't show it once you won, then you're not better. And again, we're all human beings. We're all biased in our own ways. And we fail. And we have to realize, okay, this was not good. Believe me, I had so many things I was about to put on Facebook this week. I had one time I wrote it that long. I swear.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, what you doing? Stirring the pot? And then I'm deleting it. And I deleted everything.
Yeah.
And I read it through and said, I'm not, it's wrong. I just realized it's wrong what I'm doing. And also do Democrats, you voted for Biden, then do what he said, reach out to Trump supporters, to Trump voters, to Republicans. They are Americans just as you. And we need to show this unconditional love to everybody. And my message to the Trump voters, yes, accept these open arms, or even offer these open arms. If you think that was voter fraud, yes, you have every right to think that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Yeah, but you have a right to express this and
because it's your feelings.
And if there's a recount, well, whatever will be the outcome will be the outcome. Then that's what we gotta accept, you know. But that's a good right. I mean, and the things, this happened before. The winner is not always known on the Tuesday, you know, during the Tuesday. Not even in Germany, when we talked about elections there. It takes sometimes like 3-4 days until they counted everything. Yes, you have projections, and look at in the year 2000 with Al Gore in
it was
Florida.
It was just one state though, so that was the biggest thing.
But look in the 1960s, JFK in Hawaii. These things happen over and over again, and of course, the only thing is the projected winner is sometimes clear on election day. And this was different this time because, of course, Trump said you go vote in person. Biden said you go vote per mail, and they counted the in-person votes first, and then the others. And there might have been like irregular things happening. I mean nobody's perfect, and maybe at some polls something happened. Either way, but this is let them sue, let them recount. There will be a result. Period. And this is just something. Let that go its way. And this is not your job as the small guy down here on either side. Our job is it to reach each other's hands and then sit together and build this community. And we can't build it if we're divided. You know,
right? So because
united we stand, divided we fall. You know?
So because it's an issue with it because you may have you have neighbors, one Biden, one Trump. You know, after it's over with, you know, they're gone, did their thing, but you still got to live with each other or beside each other. You got to deal with this until you move, you know, or something happened, you know. So that was the biggest thing, you know, my heart on being able to be compassionate for one another. And one more last thing, the voting process, since they said it just kind of messed up, we should get rid of the electoral votes. What do you think about that?
When they came up with that, of course, the number of people that lived in states were different. You know, when you look at all these maps, the big red blob, you know, on the map, and then you have the little blue dots. Of course, these are rural areas with less citizens, and you have more citizens in these small states, and it's a lot urban versus rural as well. I think it should be the popular vote. Period. It would make many things much easier. Results would be clearer. It's a concept that many people on this planet can't understand. It's like if you don't know anything about baseball and try to understand the rules.
Right.
That's a little bit the same, you know. I had so many people from Europe or somewhere else asking me, what electoral college? We don't understand. So you didn't vote yet? Yes, but no.
Right.
So and this is it would make it easier. So again, before we wrap it up for today, to both sides, Biden voters, Trump voters, liberals, conservatives, Democrats, Republicans, blue and red, get off damn Facebook. Get to know each other again, because you once knew each other's names, right? Because Biden and Trump, give them 10 years, they both will be gone. But you will still be here in the community. And this is what we want to build, our community. And this is what we have to start at the local level.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we thank you guys for tuning in with us again this Monday, our second week. Thank you guys for tuning in. And remember to go follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, all the platforms. Look for Erase the Hate on YouTube, on Facebook, and also on Spotify and all the platforms, streaming platforms. We want you guys to continue to follow us and support us on things that we're doing to try to erase the hate as much as possible.
Thank you for listening. This was Pastor Ray. My name is TM Garret. We're looking forward to have you as our guest again next week, Monday, 6 p.m. on WKRA 92.7 FM, The Change here in Holly Springs, and beyond on all these platforms that Pastor Ray already said. Thank you all. Have a great week.
See you.